Mike here. Tonight I'm going to be making some of my sautéed mushrooms and leeks. It's a very tasty dish with a hearty meat like a beef, and that's what I'm going to be doing tonight. So let me get started. Right now I've got my mushrooms sliced. I've got some shallots that are finely diced that'll melt as they cook. I got some garlic, but I also got this little guy. Looks like a green onion on steroids. It's a leek. These are a unique little guy, but they are so flavorful, but they take a little prep to get going. So I'll show you real quick how I prep them. Cut off the big green pieces. You can reuse these, you can eat these, but they just take a little longer to cook. Put that there. Then we cut the root part off. I go about a half an inch, quarter inch here. From here, I cut right down the line. And if you see here, it's really hard to see. There's so many different layers because these are how these leeks grow, one layer at a time. But the problem with that is if you look inside these layers, a lot of time dirt and sand, because these like sand to grow in, get in between each of these layers. So that isn't good mouthfeel. So what I do to combat that is I'll just soak these in some water here. Kind of soak them through, let them soak there a little bit, then I'll kind of peel them apart and then do a final rinse in the sink, and then I cut them real fine and add them to the mushrooms. So we'll take a look at that here in a little bit. We're back to get going on the mushrooms. Of course, the first thing we're going to start with, we're going to throw in our onions to saute. I got a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of olive oil in here. So I'm gonna get these shallots. I'm gonna get a piece of garlic. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna smash that in there. I'm not gonna keep that in there, but I'm going to let that cook for a few minutes in this oil because I want the garlic flavor in there, but I don't want big old chunks of garlic in there. That's not good. So just saute that, simmer that for about a minute or so, let that melt. Then we're going to put our leeks in. Let that cook down a little bit for a couple minutes before we add the mushrooms. All right, these shallots have kind of softened a little bit. I tell you what, there's nothing better than the smell of garlic and shallots cooking right now. Now I'm going to add these leeks. About a quarter cup. Cut them little fine little jewels there so they'll cook quickly and evenly. Same thing here. I'm gonna let this go for about a minute or two. Let them start to break down a little before we add the mushrooms. You'll see it gives it a nice little contrast. The mushrooms and the leeks go really well together. I think it's gonna give a really good flavor. All right, let's go ahead and add the mushrooms. It's a package, probably about 8 to 10 ounces. Good amount. You know mushrooms, they're going to cook down and get really small, but that's going to be really good. Always add a little bit of salt here. A little bit of pepper as it cooks. And as that starts breaking down a little bit, you see over here I got a couple extra little flavor enhancers that we're going to do. We're going to have some white wine. We're going to do some beef stock. And then the last little bit at the end, a little heavy cream to take it over the top. Okay. Now time for the wine. Half a cup of white wine. Right in here. A little bit more. Probably about a little over a half a cup of beef stock. Now, turn it up a little bit to about 5 or 6. Let it come to a good simmer and then start to reduce. I'm going to want to see that reduce by half or 3/4 by the time they're going to get ready for the final shot of heavy cream at the end. Mushrooms, the sauce has reduced down, so now it's looking real good. It's tightened up. We're just going to add a little bit of the heavy cream. Doesn't take much. Just Just get that in there. Finish that off. I checked for seasoning throughout the way a couple times. It's good. If you didn't add enough salt or pepper earlier, this is when you can make it up. Got it about medium-low heat. Just let that finish up a couple minutes and we're gonna be ready to plate.